What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint post-show edition of the Smark Out Moments Back Talk podcast. We just got done watching AEW Revolution 2022, so we're going to run that down, tell you what happened, tell you our likes or dislikes, and everything else we normally do here. I am your host as always, Tony Mango. Joining me as always is Callum Wiggins.
Thumbs up.
That's it. Yep. All right. See you later, everybody. Yeah, mostly some thumbs up here. I got some things I'm gonna, I mean, not everything's perfect, but I'm feeling pretty good overall. I know that you're feeling pretty good. I asked you ahead of time, despite the fact that this was a very long show under a lot of ways. At the time is that over there right now? Like 4?
5 o'clock in the morning.
5 o'clock in the morning. Oof. So I still have more work to do. You thankfully can get a little bit of sleep after this. That's good that it's, well, you took the day off, right?
Yes.
Good. Yeah. You're thinking ahead. Smart.
But I think it does speak for itself that I'm awake being able to do this with you, and I slept through the last 2 WWE shows that came on in despite taking days off to record afterwards.
Also, they ended, I think, an hour earlier, too, because I'm pretty sure that they ended around 11, and it's midnight here, so. I see Huerta's in the chat. I see Allie's in the chat. What's up? Anybody else who might join us in or lingering but hasn't said anything yet, say hello. Let us know. Drop your comments. Chat it up. Hit the like button. I see somebody just hit the like button right as they were saying that, I think. So thank you for that. That always helps out quite a bit. Obviously, subscribe if you haven't done it already. Ring that little notification bell. Stay tuned to everything else that is going on the support side of things, like the TeePublic and Redbubble shops for the monetary stuff, like the merchandise at the very least. You got the Pick Your Poison tier and the Darkcast on the members only side of YouTube, as well as the Patreon. And we've got the little thanks button too. You know, if you're hitting the like button and the subscribe button, hit the thanks button. Toss spare change our way a little bit, and buy us a cup of coffee or something. But while we're going along here, just keep in mind, drop your comments, especially if you're listening to this after the fact and you weren't able to join us live. You could still chime in and tell us what you thought about it, because there's lots to break down here. This was a long show. There was like 11 matches or so that happened in there, so I think we should just dive right into it with the buy-in. Now, I know with the pre-show on WWE's side of things, the kickoff, as they call it, that normally you kind of tend to skip that, Callum, and I don't blame you for that. But when it comes to the buy-in, do you check that out?
Absolutely. There's matches on it, and it actually matters. To a degree.
To a degree, yeah.
Well,
these three weren't the most important, but again, it's the pre-show, so.
Yeah, and they were fun matches. It was pretty much an episode of Rampage before the show, so yeah, I enjoyed that aspect of it.
So we did have 3 matches, which took me by surprise. I was telling Caroline earlier, I'm like, yeah, if we start eating dinner around like 6:30, 6:45, I think I'll be good, because by the time I get done eating, it'll be like maybe 7:15 if I'm taking my time. We got 3 matches. I don't think that they're going to get around to that until about 7:15. They started immediately with Chris Statlander versus Layla Hirsch, and I'm like, son of a bitch. So I'm trying to scarf down some pasta while watching this match. I unfortunately was having a lot of issues with the Bleacher Report app during this, so I watched this on YouTube. Eventually things got sorted out a little bit. I know lots of people had issues with that, but you were watching this on Fight, right?
No, the Fight don't show the buy-in show. No, so I was watching it on YouTube.
Oh, but then they do just the regular thing. They don't put the pre-show at all, though?
You switch over to Fight once the actual show starts.
That's so weird to me. Like, the pre-show is a part of the show, and it seems like that's just people that tend to disagree. Like, you go on a WWE network and they don't put the pre-show content that's on there. Like, I want to see it, But whatever it was, Statlander and Hirsch is the first one. I don't have really anything to say. To be honest, I don't have much to say about all 3 of these matches. But Statlander, she gets a couple good shots in here. She ends up losing because Layla Hirsch hits her with the turnbuckle, the little, metal rod that's used in the turnbuckle. So, it is what it is. Any thoughts you have?
It was a good match. A little clunky in places, but yeah, overall, I think it was good. You could obviously tell that the crowd was still filtering into the match, so it didn't get as big a reaction to it. But I think that considering that they built this up for a little while and able to put in together like a decent little match together. Again, nothing to really write home about, but it was good.
Then after that, we got Tony Schiavone introducing what we thought was going to be Kenny Omega, only for Don Callis to come out.
That was fun.
He says, the fans have bled Omega dry. He was doing this like world-class title reign even when he was injured and all that. And Adam Cole's going to make a great transitional champion until Kenny Omega wins the championship. So in a little bit more seeds of this inevitable breakup with the Elite, which, I like that. That's cool.
This is the best possible example of an all you people promo. It's like, instead of using it as like this justification for turning heel, he just says, oh, all you people you couldn't get enough 5-star matches out of Kenny Omega, and so now he's injured, but he will be back soon. So he's clearly still hitching his wagon to Omega. I don't know whether the feeling will be mutual upon their return, depending on how things go, but yeah, it was a nice little introduction, got the crowd a little bit excited, but Don Callis is the heel, and so him coming out to Omega's music just for an ultimate disappointment, that's the good kind of heat. I'm down for that.
And not the last time that we would see somebody coming out to somebody else's music on this card. The second match was Hook versus QT Marshall, and that kind of went about the way that I expected. Hook, of course, super over with the crowd, and there's some moments, of course, where Hook's not on top just because he is the rookie, and QT Marshall actually gets the loss through a mistake. He does like a moonsault, completely botches that. Not botching in the sense of, an actual botch, but botches as in kayfabe. Hook grabs him, gets a submission, wins, just walks back to the locker room. Like, he's doing exactly what he needs to do.
Yeah, you're not there to watch Hook have at this point in his career, a 10-minute back and forth bout. You're here to see him throw someone around with suplexes, look completely like nonchalant about everything that he does, and then tap someone out. And he did that here. QT Marshall's a very good person to put someone like Hook against because he'll take the good bumps for him. He's got enough credibility that he can getting a little bit of offense in, so Hook can sell for a little bit because Hook still, I guess, is still learning, so needs to experience the other side of things as well. But yeah, overall, you just want to see Hook get the victory, and they duly delivered with this one. So yeah, didn't overstay its welcome, and a fun little match.
And then the final one of the buy-in was our House of Black versus Death Triangle and Eric Redbeard match. Man, Redbeard spent the majority of the match trying to get the crowd pumped up, which I thought was kind of funny. He's like, yeah, more cheers.
He didn't have to try very hard. He was over as fuck. He was more over in this one match than he was in entire WWE run.
People just, I guess, excited to see him after a while, and have another huge dude who's banging into Brody King and just kind of, to pull the Biggie quote, two big dudes slapping meat,
But I don't know. I know you said you didn't have much to say about any of the kill matches. This match was one of the best matches of the night, I think. I mean, it's hard to really fix that. Literally, probably over half the card was probably in contention for that award. But this was great. These guys all worked together really well. There was some good spots of some sequences with flying kicks all over the place. There was that really cool moment where the fucking Canadian Destroyer, the first of 10 Canadian Destroyers we saw on the show, but the first one which just literally lawn darted Buddy Matthews into the ground was great. And they made Redbeard look good. They had to have all three members of House of Black take him down, eventually chop him down, get the mist in the eyes. King takes him down eventually and get a pin on him. So that's good. That protects the guys that I presume will be sticking around longer. I don't know how long Redbeard will be around for. Because as far as I'm aware, there's not been the Eric Redbeard is all elite graphic.
Yeah, I haven't seen that. So I'm assuming that he's just sort of maybe tier 0 type or something.
Yeah. So he might pop up every now and again, but if he's not going to be sticking around long term, then it makes sense for him to take the fall here.
Mm-hmm.
But it was I thought this was a super fun match. Going nearly 20 minutes. It started around about the half-hour mark, and I thought, oh, okay, so there's going to be like this 15-minute gap. But no, this one just kept going and going, and that was I enjoyed pretty much everything in this match.
My favorite part, the main thing that I had written down, was Penta's flip into the Canadian Destroyer. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, there's plenty of stuff going on, and Pac's so smooth in everything that he does, and Black's great, and Matthews is great. Basically, everyone in this match did their job as well as they needed to.
So it served its purpose, went through. We got House of Black gets another win with the mist in the eyes, and all three of them, of course, triple teaming Eric Redbeard, shows that they're all on the same page. Not that was, in question. It's not like some other factions, which are very quickly heading into disaster. But that was the Bryan, and then we went straight into Eddie Kingston versus Chris Jericho here, which immediately starts with Kingston getting the jump on Jericho. Didn't see that coming from, a mile away or anything like a lot of other things. And I wrote down a note here, one of Caroline's comments, because she was watching the majority of this with me. She was just kind of like, man, these two are really pink. And they're just the blood rushing to their torsos and everything. They were both really red throughout this match. We get Jericho, of course, acting more like a heel. He's pushing Aubrey, and by the end of the match, I was wrong about this. I thought that Jericho would end up doing something to end up getting the win, but Kingston gets a couple backhands and makes Jericho tap out, only for Jericho to not reciprocate the handshake. He just, nope, can't do it. Walks away.
Yeah, this is awesome. I don't think I've seen an Eddie Kingston match on pay-per-view that I haven't thought was just awesome. He's been doing excellent stuff, especially in the last 6 months or so. But the match starts off with Kingston just essentially dropping Jericho on his head with a suplex, which was just like, it was scary for a second because Jericho just rolls out the ring and he seems pretty shook up, and I was just, oh god, have they just killed Jericho on the first move of the match? But no, they continued to grow into it. Jericho was acting more heelish, but he's super lean now. He's in the best shape that I've seen him in years. And he was pulling out the Hurricane Rana off the top rope. He was moving really quickly. He was getting in transitions a lot quicker. When he did the roll through into the Walls of Jericho, he did that so much smoother than he's done in recent times. And yeah, just seeing him as agile as he was a really big part of making this match great. But Kingston was awesome as well. All the chops in the corner, working over Kingston's eye because of the orbital bone injury that he suffered beforehand, so it all worked together well. And then it's all built around Jericho. A few minutes into the match, pulls the turnbuckle pad off of the top rope, and it just lingers there for minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes until eventually Jericho goes for the Judas effect. Kingston ducks it. He goes elbow first into the turnbuckle, and then it's the two swinging back fists, and then he puts on a submission hold targeting the elbow and neck of Jericho, because obviously he just banged his elbow onto a piece of steel, and so Jericho taps out. So yeah, that's just affirmation. I personally also believe that Jericho was going to win this match because I saw a feud extending out a bit, but there are other ways of doing that, and the way they've decided to progress this one is Jericho still will not acknowledge Eddie Kingston, despite the fact that Kingston did just beat him. And yeah, so I guess Jericho, I'd like to see a story where Jericho either has to swallow down his pride and tries to acknowledge Kingston and accept him and show respect to him, but the likelihood is going to be they do a segment where Kingston is out there with Santana Ortiz, Jericho comes out, feigns that he's going to go for the handshake, and then just beats the shit out of him. And then it leads to them fighting with Santana Ortiz as well. And yeah, this is just the start, the next chapter in Jericho's inevitable heel turn.
And like Dane points out in the chat, Jericho lost 50 pounds in 2 weeks, it seems. Yeah,
he looks awesome. He looks in unbelievable shape for someone who's 51 years old.
And we'll talk about somebody who was 62 and did something on this card too. Jeez. I see Frankie's in the chat as well. What's up, Frankie? And Christopher is in the chat. like we keep saying, of course, let us know what you guys are thinking about these matches and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what the Jericho and Kingston feud is going forward. Obviously, Jericho did not show that sign of respect in return, so Kingston's got every reason to be like, I fucking beat you, and you still couldn't do it? Why are you such a dick? And then I highly doubt Santana and Ortiz are going to be on Jericho's side of this, and kind of makes me curious if there's going to be some other people joining Jericho down the line. Maybe we'll see some 3-on-3 kind of action, and maybe we get Hager and I don't know who the other person will be, but I guess that's just something we'll find out over the course of the next couple of weeks or so. We got the 3-way AEW World Tag Team Championship match. We got reDRagon and the Young Bucks challenging Jurassic Express. First note that I had down, man, I really hate reDRagon's theme. Especially when they had gone from the Undisputed Era and all that. Like, it's just not good. Generic as all hell. They're coming out. He's Kyle O'Reilly's doing the air guitar, and it just doesn't seem right.
I like that thing. That was the thing they used on the in Ring of Honor, so it has actual like meaning to me in that regard. Then
doesn't do it for me. So the match goes about in the usual 4-on-2 because Young Bucks and reDRagon have that little tenuous relationship, and it took a while for that to break down. I was expecting that to happen a lot earlier than it did, but eventually it does. And we get to the spot that we normally were predicting here. Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus retain. Matt Jackson, I think, was the one that took the pinfall, if I'm remembering right. It was one of the Jacksons. I don't remember which one, though, offhand.
Yeah, I think it was Matt, yeah.
But that's going to be one more notch towards that feud of reDRagon and Young Bucks splitting up. Glad to see the Jurassic Express retained, and, had fun.
Yeah, there was a lot of great action in this match, as you would expect with all three of these teams. They targeted Jungle Boy for most of the match. And Jungle Boy is just the best babyface because he just keeps on fighting no matter how many people are beating him up at once. He just gets out of all kinds of situations. There was this awesome spot where he basically fought off 3 people at once and then was about to make the hot tag to Luchasaurus, but Bobby Fish took him off the apron just as he was about to reach it. And just the timing of these guys was like pretty impeccable throughout. And yeah, you had spots where Luchasaurus does finally get in and he does a kip up into a double choke slam, and that's like he does he's I don't say like he's limited in that regard, but he does his spots well, and he doesn't overexert himself into doing things that he can't necessarily do. Like he's nowhere near as fluid as the other 5 guys in this match, but when it calls on to do, just hit people with choke slams, do some power moves, or throw like a nice little high kick every now and again, Luchasaurus is perfectly apt to do all that stuff. And the breakdown of the Young Bucks and reDRagon continues. It was good that they teased it out for a little while, like them accidentally kicking each other a couple of times before then fully breaking down and just, okay, now it's a 3-way match. Just whoever wins, best man wins, best team wins, or that sort of approach. And eventually having Jurassic Express, having taken so much punishment from the 2 teams throughout it, finally get the victory makes all the sense in the world. They should be keeping a hold of the tag titles because there are a lot of teams they could be feuding with. Whereas we know where reDRagon and Young Bucks are going, so we might as well. That doesn't need the title picture for everyone to get excited about it.
Right, exactly. If they put the belts on them, then what does Jurassic Express do? Then they just kind of seem like they wasted it. So I like the direction. I think that the right people win. Won here, not win. Wrong tense. I will say this is one of the things that throughout the night I started to realize a little bit later on. I was just like, you know what? I don't think that necessarily all these gimmick matches needed to be all the gimmick matches. And in the grand scheme, I think that this would have been better without it being a trios kind of, well, that's not 3-way. I think it might have been better as singles things, actually. I don't know. We're going to have to find out, but some of the matches I think didn't need to be gimmicky, and it felt a little samey, I guess. Like by the end of the night, I'm like, all right, well, we could trim 2 of them. You get that feeling, or feeling totally opposite on that?
Totally opposite. Like, oh, it feels really samey with everyone having a slightly different gimmick match. It's like, yeah, that's really samey to me. It's not like we could have just had 12 singles matches on the card. That's great, yay.
I wouldn't have wanted that either, but like I like that kind of, freshen it up a little bit, and I'll talk about it more so in one other match, but I was just kind of like, all right, well, I think that maybe we didn't necessarily need to go in this direction yet, but we went from that match to a different gimmick match, the ladder match, Face of the Revolution ladder match, I should say, with a couple of notes that I had down here. JR line that I laughed at. He said, Keith Lee looks like a big old refrigerator with a head on it. Okay. This Orange Cassidy, so good. Everything that he does is just great. We got the three big guys, Hobbs and Wardlow and Keith Lee, all in the ring. They're all standing, feet of strength, like we're all going to go at each other. Then Orange Cassidy pops up, starts giving him the kicks. Loved when he did the thing where he flipped himself onto the ladder and tried to grab the brass ring. That was great. Didn't like the powerbomb from Ricky Starks.
Well, Cassidy was good comic relief throughout the match. To be fair, but outside the comedy spots, the best thing he did all match was get thrown around by Keith Lee.
Yeah.
So, and that's what he was there to do. I think the final one where Keith Lee basically launched him halfway up the entrance ramp was pretty awesome as well. But yeah, other than that, I kind of feel like he was one of the, I guess, odd men out in that regards, because I just don't think he adds a lot of credibility to this kind of matches. Like, okay, he's not gonna win. He's there for a nice little fun spot, and you can bring in Danhausen as well, and he can do some nice little comedy spots as well. But that's kind of where the value ends, really.
The Danhausen thing, I wasn't fond of that.
Oh, Danhausen's an acquired taste, but he has a very strong following, so they are going to use him in these capacities. So at least it is just like there for just a little bit and pieces, and then just goes away afterwards. Like it doesn't overstay its welcome. But all the other guys, like they kept teasing and did some stuff with the three hosses in the match. Ricky Starks was good throughout. Christian is obviously the ladder match veteran and was putting a lot of the plunder and spots together, so that was really good as well. They took out Keith Lee and Powerhouse Hobbs at once with Wardlow knocking him down. I think that's probably the best thing out of this match, is because I kind of knew about halfway in that Wardlow was probably going to win because he hadn't done anything for a while and everyone else was getting their spots in. And I always had this inclination with ladder matches where the guy who's not doing a lot for the first half of the match or so is the guy who's going to win. And then they eventually, okay, now we're going to put the spotlight on him after the other guys have had their chance to shine a bit. He knocks out both Hobbs and Lee, takes them off the stage through a table on the outside. Then he takes out Christian with a powerbomb, takes out Ricky Starks with that gnarly-looking powerbomb onto the ladder, which I don't think he got as much into it as he probably wanted to. Probably slipped a little bit, so it was a bit of a nasty landing for a guy with a
neck problem.
Recovering from neck problems. So, but Wardlow wins. That's what I expected, and yeah, I think he's like I don't say before this, but like probably this time last year, I was probably saying, well, people need to kind of hold their horses a little bit with Wardlow. Like he could be like a big star in the next like 4 or 5 years or so, and like when he gets some more reps in, and then he'll be off to the races. But no, now I've kind of like decided this calendar needs to move a little bit. I could definitely see him as world champion in the next year or so. By 2023, I think he could be world champion.
I agree. It all depends on, of course, who would switch it from, Paige to who to Wardlow. You would assume MJF or something, but
yeah, but he's so over.
Yeah, he's really gotten over to that point where it's like, if something weird doesn't happen, you've got your next huge, like Batista type guy.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So,
he's the Powerbomb Symphony, all that other stuff. He's managed to get himself over huge without having to. He's kind of a cross between. He's got the look of Batista, and I think he's got more. He's obviously got more in his arsenal, but he's having the Goldberg style matches where he just like takes out most people in a matter of minutes. But he can do these matches as well and be perfectly fine.
Yeah, he's doing great. Of course, everybody else that was in this match, they had their moments and stuff. And the right person, I think, won. So we're going to be looking forward to a Wardlow TNT Championship match against Sammy Guevara, most likely. You know, technically speaking, he could lose the title to Scorpio Sky, but I don't think that's going to be the case. And, you know, I'm going to talk a little bit more about MJF later on, but following this was somebody who we thought might have been actually in the ladder match, and it didn't pan out that way. But instead, Tony Schiavone says we got a new special contract signing coming up, and he brings out Shane Swerve Strickland. Though he said that twice, but they put on the screen just Swerve Strickland. So I don't know if he's going to go by both, just Swerve Strickland. I don't know, but he's keeping the Swerve name. He's going back to the Strickland name that he had before NXT. And he seems like he's basically kind of picking up where he left off. You know, he's got the same whose house, Swerve's house kind of thing going on. And yeah, he's going to be a good fit.
Yeah, he came across very confident and comfortable in this new environment. He seems like we know that he can be very charismatic from his time in NXT at the very least, and also on the independent circuit. I'm interested to see what his I was actually quite interested to see what his entrance theme was, and they seem to have put something pretty nice together for him, but we'll see how it actually works when he gets into action. But yeah, it's a good pickup for them. I don't think he's going to be someone that really like pushes the boundaries or shakes things up with them, but it's always good to have good workers available.
Yeah, he already said, like, you know, I could talk about championships, I could talk about dream matches and stuff, but like with everybody that comes in AEW, here's the little laundry list. You know, we're going to see Swerve against Danielson and against Jungle Boy and against MJF. And, you know, it's just the list of the regular people. Darby Allin is going to be having a great match with him down the line, I'm sure. And, you know, nothing bad about bringing another person in to freshen things up. So I like that. What was the next match? Cargill, right? Yeah. AEW TBS championship match. We've got Taikashi coming out there with her war paint on, which I was like, she's doing that now? Okay. And then to one up that, you've got Kingfish, what's his name? I'm forgetting what his first and his last name was. His last name was Ingram. I forget his first, Christopher maybe or something. Killing it on the guitar. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, you always know who... You know someone is being treated like a superstar when they get a musical entrance.
And she's dressed up like Jade from Mortal Kombat. She's looking fantastic. That's already going on my list of potential best ring gear of the year. Caroline couldn't get enough of it. She was like, oh my god, she actually looks like a Mortal Kombat character. This is amazing and stuff. Starting off the match with a kiss. That was another thing. Caroline was like, okay. You know, she's like, I'm here for this. You know. Like, believe me, there's plenty of people that are.
Yeah. So, if anybody is interested, I know, like, probably don't divulge into it, but Jade is married and has a kid and stuff like that. But like, if you do follow her on Twitter and stuff like that, she's not shy about her appreciation of the ladies as well. So. And I could see that as well. They did that little spot on Dynamite where Jade like kissed her on the forehead beforehand as well. And so it doesn't surprise me that she does that as like a mixture of mind games, but also maybe the fact that she just actually wants to kiss Tai Conti as well. It's just like, and to be fair, I can't really blame her in that regard. And
to get people talking, you know, something to put it out there. Why not?
Yeah, it's good to just like infuriate her a little bit. Everyone's like going crazy about it on social media and stuff like that. It's just it's just, and it was a good like little just starting point for this match, knowing that obviously Jade is not the most polished worker in the world, and that's why this was one of the shortest matches on the show. But I think for the time they were given and the limitations that both kind of have in their roles, I thought this went better than I anticipated, actually.
Yeah, it was a very gifable moment that Marquise in the chat says giggity for. And there's moments, of course, in this where like Ty's tornado DDT didn't really work out all that well. Some of the moves, you know, but all things considered, I'll come back to this point later. Between this match and the other one, women's match that was on this card, I thought that this one was more entertaining. And maybe it was just a matter of that it was shorter. Maybe it was the fact that I was going into it with lower expectations. The crowd was still kind of dead for it, which is a shame, but Cargill does a frog splash. She has her improvements that she's made. She wins 29-0. I think is the score that she's at right now. And I thought it was fine. Serviceable match.
Yeah, it was totally fine especially for like the level experience of both competitors. I think that Ty Conchi's doing pretty well. I think some of her pump kicks into the corner looked really good. And she got a nice little spot where she got to dive off the top with a senton onto Mark Sterling. So that was fun. And Cargill responded by just kicking Anna Jay down. They did a few spots where Anna Jay was trying to help Ty get the victory as well. And yeah, this is the right result. Jade Cargill still just has that aura about her that overcomes any deficiencies that she has in the ring. And yeah, she gets the victory as she should, and looking forward to what's next.
And well, what was next after that was the dog collar match. And when you start hearing Cult of Personality, MJF comes out, people are booing, boo, awful person, that kind of thing. And then I start hearing a sound that I'm like, this sounds so much like Terminator 2. In particular, Terminator 2, because Terminator 1's got a different kind of soundtrack. Brad Fade out, but for both. But I'm like, yeah, man, this is really giving me Terminator 2 vibes. And I've said before, Terminator 2 is my favorite movie of all time. So that entrance, I had no idea this had anything to do with Ring of Honor. But that entrance was pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, this is a Ring of Honor entrance theme, and he came out wearing that same outfit. I think he was trying to call back to obviously the Second City Saint line and the idea of he cut this promo after being busted open on Dynamite, where he was talking about how he's gonna unleash the devil inside him and stuff like that. Well, that was similar to what MJF had said as well. So Punk went back to the person he was when he originally cut that promo. The MJF essentially copied or took inspiration from Wednesday night. And so yeah, it was good to see that, especially because now they own Ring of Honor. You can really get away with this sort of stuff, and it really adds a different layer to this stuff now. So yeah, it was a really cool, unique entrance.
And for the people that know, that gives them this boost of oh yeah, Ring of Honor. Yeah, the people that don't know, like myself, who had no idea, suddenly people start going, that's its Ring of Honor entrance. And you go, oh, well, when they bring Ring of Honor back, maybe I'm going to be more interested. So it's a win-win kind of scenario. It helps out the feud. It's something different. And it boosts the ROH stock a little bit more. So, hats off for that. This match was fucking great. Bloody mess all throughout the whole thing. I love that the fans are chanting "eat shit" after the where he's like, why don't you give up and whatever, and he's just like, "Eat shit, Max." And the fans just start chanting "eat shit." They're telling a good thing here with the chain being able to stop Punk from hitting the GTS. That was good.
Yeah, there was such good storytelling in this match. It wasn't a very obviously technical matchup, but the way that they weaved from one segment of the match to another was just absolutely flawless. You have Punk busted open really pretty early on, because obviously he was busted up on Wednesday, so he has a pretty fresh wound, and he bleeds a lot when he gets cut. His face was just completely red throughout pretty much the entirety of the match until it started to dry up a little bit. And you have MJF get cut open afterwards. They do some really interesting stuff with the chains in terms of how they punch and how they use it to pull people down from situations as well. So the chain was, obviously it's difficult because the chain will get in the way from time to time, but they always got to make the most out of using it. They recognised the stipulation they were in and did the absolute most to try and get everything out of it.
They, of course, bring out the thumbtacks as well. Which is just oh man, every time I fucking see that, I'm just like, nope.
What my favorite part was, well, not a favorite part, but there was a good on-running thing for a while where Punk hit went for an enziguri with the chain wrapped around his leg and hit the steel steps, and then essentially his right leg became pretty much immobile, for a good solid chunk of the match. So every time he went up for the GTS, like he would collapse under his own weight, and so couldn't get that off. That gave MJF a chance to take over for a while, do some cool stuff. There was a tombstone pole driver on the apron. There were quite a lot of tombstone pole drivers on this show, actually.
Yeah, I think like 3 matches in there.
Yeah, and maybe it's just their tribute for the Undertaker before he goes into the Hall of Fame. But yeah, there was some really cool stuff there as well, and it all builds towards the end where obviously you've got the thumbtacks out. Punk takes a superplex into it, pretty much butt first into the thumbtacks, which probably sucked more than if he went back first. I do always like when there's thumbtacks in the ring, and you can always tell when the referee does the count, and you know, it's like, fuck, he's got a thumbtack in his hand and stuff like that, and so because he just like shakes it off and everything.
And then he did the match after this too, and I'm like, fucking let Paul Turner go back to the ring, get his hand treated. He doesn't have to do this more, you know. Call out Aubrey, call out Bryce or something, like, you know.
Yeah. But then it's just the finish is just great as well, because it not only does it tie a brilliant bow on this feud, which has been amazing since, well, for the most part great since the start of the year and before that, but it also just sets in motion the next storyline for MJF as well, when Wardlow comes out and he just struggles in his pockets, he can't find the diamond ring. Punk uses the distraction to hit the GTS. MJF falls comically onto the thumbtacks. It was just great. And then Wardlow finally discovers that, he does have the ring in one of his pockets, and just leaves it on the side for Punk to use, hit MJF with it, and get the victory. It was, Punk should have won this match. I think he needed it, because MJF is now going to be moving on to more issues with Wardlow and how that transpires and what that means for the Pinnacle and all this other stuff. Whereas Punk can move on from this, I would say, probably towards a world title shot soon.
And then, of course, since the title shot thing, last thing we had heard from it, MJF goes, well, you're not going to win the ladder match anyway, but hey, I tell you what, if you do win that, you can keep the TNT championship if you win it, pal. Now he's got every reason in the world to be like, okay, he's got the title match. He could very well win it, but you fucked me over. So give me that championship. Or like you had suggested, we're going to book ourselves into a match, and if you want to keep your job, then you're going to lay down for me. And it's either like you're fired or that. And then that, of course, stratosphere for Wardlow, because then he becomes fighting the person against that, and he's just leveling up multiple different times here. This is going to be perfect for both.
The only question I have in my mind at this point is which one goes over at the end of this feud. Because Wardlow's super hot right now, and you really don't want to derail that, but MJF is starting to develop a habit of losing the matches on pay-per-view. And so I think in an ideal world, you have a situation where Wardlow does break free and obviously does get to take out MJF, but then he, quote unquote, gets fired and you take him off TV for a little while. Like maybe spend, I don't know, like 2 or 3 months off TV. When he comes back, you're more in a position where, okay, MJF's been able to feud with other people, get a few wins, more wins under his belt. Maybe he's challenging for the world title and something, and then Wardlow comes in, and then you can go off to the races a little bit more. I just feel right now MJF shouldn't be losing after this one, but Wardlow shouldn't be losing either. So you're in a bit of a difficult position, but this company does prove time and again that they're able to work their way around this, and they've probably had this planned out, or at least like the building blocks of it mapped out for several months, if not years already.
I think pretty much from the start, you put Wardlow with MJF, you know where you're going. Or at least you hope that's where you can go. Because, of course, if Wardlow would have sucked, then maybe it wouldn't have worked out that way. We've seen some other things just not pan out. Look at the Nightmare Collective.
True, but I just, I don't know whether they could have anticipated him getting this over this quickly.
True. Maybe they thought that they'd still had a couple more months or so.
But now he's just too big with the fans now, so you have to see what you can do with it. But they've given me no reason to consider why they wouldn't be able to do that.
So unfortunately, the match that followed this, that's not a good spot to be in. And between that and the crowd just not being energetic, they had already expended themselves from the previous thing. And honestly, I think the match itself, I just wasn't digging the AEW Women's World Championship match. I felt like the moves were kind of sloppy. Whenever, in particular, like Baker's doing some like suplexes and stuff, and it seems like Rosa just sort of lands. Like there's no impact to anything, so it's on both of them to a certain extent. Everything just felt slow. There was like 4 or 5 times where I'm like, all right, do we need to do the Rebel and Jamie Hayter interfere again and again and again and again? I know that it's trying to make it to where Thunder Rosa looks like she clearly would have had the match won. They would do the whole thing with the referee distracted and the fans were counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She's got like a 6 count going on and all that. But I was just like, man, I honestly am not caring. I was so underwhelmed with this, and I have nothing really like positive to say about it outside of the fact that I know that these two can do a better job because we saw it last year.
I think I wasn't super offended by it. I think it probably was one of the weaker matches or weaker points of the entire show. I still think it was technically very good. I think maybe there was a case where Britt was getting too much on offense on Rosa, and Rosa's spots were a bit more sporadic when she was getting on. And maybe if she'd been more active or been more on offense throughout the match, the crowd may have been able to get a bit more into it. But it was in a difficult spot because of just following the MJF and CM Punk match. So I think whatever match followed this was going to struggle a little bit. And I think the reason why maybe they put this one here is because this is just a precursor to what I imagine is going to happen at St. Patrick's Day Slam. Because they already announced later on in the show that Thunder Rosa will be fighting Layla Hirsch in a championship eliminator match. And the winner gets the shot at Britt Baker at that show. And that show is in San Antonio, Texas, which is Thunder Rosa's hometown. And they'll put it inside a steel cage, I imagine. And that'll be the thing that keeps Rebel and Jamie Hayter. So they used this match, even though it hurt the overall quality of the match, especially because Thunder Rosa had like both a visual pinfall and a visual submission over Britt Baker, but the constant distractions were costing her. They used this as more of an angle, really, to say, okay, now we're going to get rid of all the distractions for their next match. And that means that Thunder Rosa will win because there's no one there to prevent her from winning. But yeah, I can understand why there is some like underwhelming nature towards this match. It definitely wasn't the best that they could put together or the best that they've ever done, because we've seen that and it can be a lot better. But I also have faith that will come, and it will come in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I mean, if you, of course, anybody out there listening, if they've heard all the WWE things, if this were in a WWE match kind of scenario, it would be just as critical. They've done that a million times. So I'm just not a big fan of building up to a pay-per-view so that it can be an angle to build to another pay-per-view. I tend to just be like, can we at least transition in a better way? And this didn't feel like it did it for me. It just seemed like it was more of a stall rather than interesting twists to make that next match interesting to me. If they would have gone straight to the cage match, I don't think I would have been missing out anything. Of course, we don't know how the cage match is going to play out if they end up doing that, but I just kind of felt like by the time that this was over, there were already multiple times where I was like, oh man, can this just end? I just wanted to skip through it. I like the new championship though.
Yeah, it looks a lot better than their old one did.
Yeah, the other one looked like an egg. I wasn't a big fan of that one.
I wasn't as critical as some people were, but I understood it was probably a bit too small. This one does look a lot more robust, and yeah, I think that overall it continues to follow the pattern. I think that's followed Britt Baker's entire title reign, which is it's a little bit like you think that it should be better than it is. And just because like she's great on the mic and she's a great character and all this other stuff, but when it actually comes down to the feud surrounding her title defenses and the actual matches themselves, they sometimes leave a lot to be desired, and you kind of left thinking, oh, I was expecting that to be a bit better than it actually was.
Yeah, she was more, it seems at this point, more about potential than actually achieving the potential. A couple weeks from now, new champion, most likely.
I'd say so, yeah.
Next matchup was Jon Moxley defeating Bryan Danielson, and they were another bloody type of match with, at one point, the crowd started chanting, "Let's go Jericho." Did I hear that right?
I can't remember. Like that chant in particular. Like I this is obviously it got almost as bloody, if not more bloody, than the MJF and Punk match, but it was a different kind of violence. If it said that was very personal and rooted. This was just like two guys just wanting to beat the shit out of each other to prove who's the better one out of those two.
I like the finish a lot.
Oh yeah, I was here for it, totally.
For anybody who didn't see it, the way that this ends, Bryan Danielson has Moxley firmly locked up in a submission, and he doesn't want to let go, but Moxley's able to spin things around, get a quick pinfall, and out wrestle the guy who's more of the wrestler rather than the brawler, which leads to Danielson being pissed at the referee, and then the two of them start fighting more, and William Regal comes out.
Yeah. So that's because there's a lot of stuff obviously on this show which was great, and looking forward to, and all of this other awesome stuff, and so much stuff that delivered on their expectations on top of everything else. And Swerve turned up, everyone kind of knew Swerve had already signed for AEW anyway, so there was no real massive shock that, okay, he decided to just pop up at Revolution and win this. This one just hits you completely out of left field. It's like, because we've been talking about beforehand, it's like, oh, what if William Regal comes in and he's running Ring of Honor and all this other stuff, and it's just great. And no, they've figured out, oh, they are bringing him in, and they've given him something potentially even greater to do, which is be the manager of this faction that will be led by Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson. And I am so 100% down for it.
Yeah, this was one of those things where I was just like, all right, sign me up. You've got these two great wrestlers. You've got William Regal. Between the two of them, he could be a mouthpiece. He could be just like a symbolic manager, whatever it is. Regal's fucking great. Moxley's great. Danielson's great. This is awesome.
He looked so excited. He looked so enthusiastic about what he was doing. And as much as obviously he was great in his role for NXT for the longest time, and I definitely don't want to take anything away from that, but you could kind of tell for the last year or so that was he was kind of there, but not there. He was there in body, but not in spirit almost. And here he's getting like nose to nose with Moxley just bleeding, and so just getting his blood on his forehead, slapping both of them in the face, telling them to shake hands. Like, he's clearly got a vested interest, and they have a plan for what they're going to do with this guy and with Moxley and with Bryan as a combo. And yeah, this is probably the thing that I got most excited for coming out of the show. Like, what's going to happen next here? That was the biggest thing for me. And yeah, I'm super excited. It was the type of match overall that is not a match that you remember particular spots or moments in it, but you just enjoy the fact that it happened. Like, I sat that through and just like, I enjoyed everything that I saw, but it wasn't a high spots match. It was a just straight up professional wrestling, beat the shit out of you match. And I love those just as much as the others.
And we've talked about it a million times, but like, AEW can't sign everybody. But if you've got somebody on the table like a William Regal, you sign that guy for
he's just going to be a manager. And
so many different reasons. A great mouthpiece, great manager, could always be a great authority figure. He's proven that in the past. If they ever want to go in that direction, they don't seem like they do that because they're just, sticking it to Tony Khan. But they always do have that in their back pocket. And just the fact that he's in the company major talent scout.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's no downside of bringing William Regal in other than the fact that you're obviously paying him to be in the company. The thing that shocked me the most is they could call him William Regal.
Right, I was surprised about that.
And so, yeah, I guess that's like WWE clearly don't own the rights or the trademark to William Regal.
Either that, or maybe that was just one of those things where they've got enough respect for him, and maybe Triple H is pulling some strings or something where it's just kind of like, it's Regal, just fucking let him. Do we really need to have him just be Lord Steven Regal elsewhere? We let the guy go. Let's just let him be William Regal.
Well, I think based on recent events, then probably Triple H actually suggested that they can't give him William Regal name, and they decided, hey, fuck you, bud.
Yeah, he's just going
William Regal name,
like the opposite day sort of things.
Yeah,
I would absolutely, under no circumstances, can you let him still be William Regal? And they're like, well, exactly what we need to do. Triple H is just sitting there like twiddling his thumbs, like, all right, and I'm gonna have to do that. Say, listen, I think that we should never hire back any of these people. And I don't think that I should ever be control of NXT or the main product of WWE anymore, for that matter. I think that you guys should fire me and deduct my pay. It's so fucking weird. Like, every time we turn around, AEW is NXT. It might as well just be that Triple H was like, hey, I'm going to hire this Tony Khan guy to make another company, and then I'm going to sabotage things or something, because it's like, this is exactly what he was doing for the Black and Gold in so many different ways. The only difference is it also has Kenny Omega and Young Bucks, and then their friends. And they were almost in there too. Omega, had said that he was like in talks, and Young Bucks damn near made their contracts a thing. And yeah, different timeline, man.
I'm much happier on this timeline, honestly, because AEW is better than NXT ever was, really.
At least
from my perspective.
I still think Brock Lesnar should beat The Undertaker. But
well, that's fine. I think that can still happen, and AEW exists.
Well, the Tornado Trios tag team match was after this, and this was the match that, in particular, I was just kind of like, I don't think we need to have trash cans and everything, but it did lead to two good spots, and really it was two spots and nothing else mattered in this match, because I don't give a shit about the Butcher and the Blade interfering. But Sammy Guevara has a Spanish fly. He takes Cassidy for the ride. They go through a table, not the two of them that they were hoping to. Guevara smacks his face on the one of them, but that happens, and Sting jumps from a high spot, goes through a table. He's 62 years old. This guy's jumping from a high height through a table.
Yeah, this match is just a lot of fun. Just like a bit of like fighting all around the ring, a few weapons involved, a few tables involved. It's all, yeah, it was just, this is the reason why I was kind of happy that this match was taking place rather than and you got to see the triple threat match on Rampage for the TNT Championship. It's like, okay, you get to see both sides of it, but this was, yeah, just a nice little palate cleanser before the main events. One of my favourite spots, as typically is the case, is Darby Allin hitting that missile suicide dive onto Jose the assistant with a trash can on his head. That was just great. And yeah, it does all kind of boil down to eventually the Spanish fly spot, which was great and crazy, and Sting's dive, which is just like, this guy is timeless. Like, I don't know how he can do the things that he does at 62 years old, but it's absolutely, yeah, it was just amazing to see him just fly over there and go through 3 tables at once. And Matt Hardy takes the pin, as you'd expect, from the coffin drop.
Kind of.
Yeah. Well, the back of his head kind of connected with Hardy, but that's sometimes the way it goes. It's live TV power. It can't always be perfect every step of the way. But yeah, Hardy taking the fall makes sense. It means they have somebody to blame for that to happen. Where news has come out that Jeff Hardy will be at the next AEW show. We don't know whether that's actually going to be on the show, but he'll be backstage at the very least. So yeah, that's the direction they're going in. And yeah, Hardy Boys reunion. Let's do it.
Yeah, this AHFO is not long for this world, and all the more reason why, because Matt Hardy took the loss, so he deserves to get booted out of the group, and let's move on to the rest of the, the other part of the storyline, because I can't wait for this feud to be over with this Hardy family office thing. I've hated it since the start. To be fair, I haven't really liked almost anything that Matt Hardy's done in AEW. I think he's been largely a dud. So maybe the Hardy Boys can be a little bit different, and at least that's worth a shot. But Coffin Drop is kind of funny, just in the sense that Matt Hardy was not paying at all attention. So he was not ready for that. And it worked the way that it was, whatever. Again, by the end of this night, I think that these go on a little bit too long. I don't think it needs to be from 7 until midnight. But I guess we got some good spots, so at least it's not that it was like a WWE show. And we ended up with our main event, the Adam versus Adam match, with the fans chanting, "We want Adam," and "This is Adam" instead of "This is wrestling" and everything. Adam Page is able to retain. Hangman gets the pin over Adam Cole with, I think it was 2 buckshot lariats that ended up being the case. But good match. Nothing that's going to be on my match of the year candidate, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was a great match. I think that the crowd was really good for the vast majority of the show, and they really came into their own here with all the Adam related chants, and that was super fun. Yeah, I mean, Adam Cole and Adam Page in this current vein of form that he's in since becoming the champion just don't have bad matches. And this was another one to add to the collection. Did some really cool spots like the super kick, hitting Adam Page in the moonsault. Get to do some dives to the outside with flying moonsault to the outside as well. Yeah, you get to see the reDRagon come out. They do a few try and run interference a little bit. You have Page hit the dead eye through a table on the outside. Dark Order come out. They chase reDRagon off, so you get to end up with Page essentially hitting Cole with the last shot to the back of the head, and then hit the final buckshot lariat to take him down. After the first one, Cole was able to get to the ropes at the very last second. Yeah, I think this was a really, really well put together match for a feud which didn't really hit the super heights of intensity of some of the other matches on this card. But it's another big win for Adam Page over an established name. Cole will move on to whatever's next with the reDRagon and Young Bucks, because he's kind of caught in the middle of that, if those two are going to continue being at loggerheads. And Page can move on to another challenger, another feud. I'm sure there's plenty lined up for him to do next.
It all works out the way that it should, and you end up with your babyface champion celebrating at the end of it, and everybody gets sent home pretty happy. No big surprise, no Kenny Omega return, no suddenly, here's the Ring of Honor people attacking, and it's this big invasion angle or anything, but that's perfectly fine, and we can save all that stuff for another time and spread the wealth a little bit, because this had a lot going on for it. So this ended up being a show that I'm hoping is not the best AEW show of the year, because there were some parts of it that I was feeling a little bit, sluggish on, but I think that they delivered on their promise that they were going to pack a lot into this. And I can't imagine that people that paid for this are feeling disappointed in it. I can't imagine that the people that are in the crowd for it are feeling low. So, if you're coming out of this with that, and thumbs up.
Yeah, I think I'll just fundamentally say that if we get another show this year from any promotion that matches the quality of this one, then I think we've been spoiled. Because I think this is, if not the best, it's one of the best AEW shows they've ever done. From top to bottom, pretty much. Even the low points with the Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa, at least that match was I think technically good. And it might be a case that on rewatching it in the future, and I will go back and rewatch this show at a later date, to watch it, feel it's actually better than I thought it was, and it was just in a bad spot, and that kind of impacted the entire thing. But yeah, overall, I just think that there were very, very few things that I could criticize or find a lot of fault in on this entire show. And you're never ever going to get a perfect show. So I think this is probably 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10. I would go so far to say. And yeah, it will be twice, if not 3 times as good as WrestleMania.
Is that going to be the new version of it will match or exceed WrestleMania or whatever it was they had said for?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was if you want to again draw in the more NXT comparison, we always did the thing where always the NXT show before the pay-per-view going to be the better one, and typically it usually was, mainly because it was shorter. But the advantage with this one has, even though this show is actually really long, it's actually going to be still half as long as WrestleMania will be, because there's 2 nights of that stuff. And yeah, I think that I would be, considering what we know about what WrestleMania's got coming up, I would be massively surprised if WrestleMania comes up even close to matching the quality of this show.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, this was, as I say, it's these shows are a marathon and it does take a lot in, and maybe they would benefit from tightening them up a bit more and kind of count out a couple of matches. But I think genuinely the overall quality of the matches and the booking and the results and the way things, most of the matches, regardless of what you feel about some of them, they pretty much all went the way they should have gone. Mm-hmm. The only one that you could probably have a bit of contention with is the Baker and Rosa one. But
if you said, like, if San Antonio is Thunder Rosa territory, then they probably were just using it as a holdover, and they didn't think of somebody else that could have fought Baker in the meantime.
Yeah. So, yeah, so as I say, it's not a perfect show, but I think, especially in this day and age, it's probably as close to as you're probably likely to ever get.
Well, that's it for AEW Revolution. Of course, we got more stuff coming your way with heading towards Double or Nothing. We do have St. Patrick's Day Slam coming up, which could be a potential big deal. We know the TNT title is going to be on the line there as well, so maybe Wardlow wins that. Maybe we do get Thunder Rosa winning the championship, and whatever is next for MJF. The new challenger for Hangman Adam Page, of course, is going to be established down the line. Plenty of interesting things happening in AEW over these next couple of weeks to just kind of, keep you checking in on Dynamite and on Rampage. And we still don't know what's happening with potential other new signings, the Jeff Hardy thing. God knows what's happening with Cody Rhodes. Maybe he pops back up or something. Ring of Honor is a major thing happening right now. So Tony Khan's got his, all the balls that he's juggling right now. They're just like stacking up. But let us know what you have to say. Drop them in the comments below. Tell us your thoughts, whether it was good or bad in any kind of particular fashion. And while you're doing that, make sure that you are subscribed and follow us all over the place at Smark Out Moment. And stay tuned to what we've got coming up next, which is going to be a couple different varieties of things. We were still trying to settle on what the next thing is going to be. We might do another mock draft, which could be anything from the Attitude Era mock draft or the Ring of Honor mock draft or one of the other seemingly like 8 or 9 that Callum has made up ahead of time, thankfully, because I don't have the time to do this, even though you said that you think you've got a problem now at this point.
Yeah, I won't tell you how many draft boards I came up with in the last weekend alone.
Well, you got to tell us now. All right, go on.
Hang on, let me get my list of spreadsheets out just to see, because there's I just can't help myself at this point. It's just so there's a Ring of Honor all-time draft because they're pretty topical right now. I have the Attitude Era draft that we did a little while ago. I have the Wrestlers Under 30 draft. It wouldn't do essentially the quote unquote future of wrestling draft. We have the one that I was telling you about, the Tony's Wrestling Return draft.
Right, starting in 2006.
Yeah, so it's basically a snapshot of the rosters at the time across multiple different promotions on the 12th of June 2006, which was the date that DX reformed on Raw.
Yeah.
I have my own Wrestling Origins draft from the first wrestling show that I remember watching, which is the SmackDown from the 8th of August 2002. and did pretty much the same things with mine as I did with your one. I have a OVW/FCW all-time draft.
So you got the people like Orton, Cena, Lesnar, Shelton.
Yep. So everyone from OVW that wasn't like a guy that just went back there for a little while, like Big Show or Big Boss Man or something like that, and FCW ones as well. So there's a good number. I think there was about 130 odd people in that one, so it's not as big. And then I did a WWE Mid Card Draft, which is everybody that's held a Mid Card Championship in WWE.
So that's what US title, IC title, European,
and so it's
hardcore,
Intercontinental, not hardcore because that's considered a specialty,
tertiary.
Tertiary or specialty belt. So it would be the so it's Intercontinental, United States, European, and North American.
Oh yeah, North American. I forgot about that. Well, and Heritage Cup, right?
I don't consider that one. It's a cup. It's not a title. I know
they actually refer to it as the NXT UK Heritage Cup Championship.
I don't care enough about it
to be fair, it's A-Kid, Tyler Bate, and Noam Dar. So
yeah, exactly. So
it's not like we're really missing that much.
Yeah, there's like there's about a solid like 100 plus names on this one. It's quite interesting just going through the ones and just seeing like, oh, how many people held all of these championships or a load of these championships, and then you have like I was checking through to see which ones had held like multiple versions of the title. You have Jericho, Kurt Angle, Eddie Guerrero, and Jeff Hardy have held like all of the Intercontinental, United States, and European championships. And then there's one anomaly, which is Ricochet, who's now held the only person to have held the Intercontinental, United States, and North American championships.
Nice.
Yeah, so good on Ricochet.
So we got that we might do. So if anybody wants to throw it out there that we really want this one in particular, let us know about that. We also have.
I would lean towards Ring of Honor one just because it's topical right now, and there's some fun names in there, some names that you wouldn't expect. Yeah,
most likely if we're going to just kind of do something on the whim there, we're going to do that one. We also have that what if for the WrestleMania main events.
I like that one idea.
Depending on the timing that we've got, and depending on what's going on with like our schedules, we might lean more towards that just because it is a little bit of a quicker thing to do. But maybe we do that. Maybe they do the Ring of Honor thing. If you want to make sure that we do any of that, you got to pick your poison. So keep that in mind. We're also going to do the Dark Cast sometime this week, or not this week, this month, where we're going to go back to the one that we had done before about the NXT thing. We're going to do our cards for our mock draft thing on that. So if you are digging the mock draft fantasy booking stuff that as much as we are, you got some things on the horizon there. And of course, coming up in a couple weeks, we got WrestleMania. So we're going to get into that in full with Wrestling with the Past and so on and so forth. But that's all happening here. So check out smarkoutmoment.com and see what else is happening on the writer side of things. And go to fanboysanonymous.com. Check out some things that are happening there, like that Batman movie review that Caroline and I did. And hopefully plenty of other content as well coming up. We got a fan tracks that we're going to be doing pretty soon. And thank you to Marco for sponsoring that on the Pick Your Poison. And then, of course, just follow me at Tony Mango and follow Callum as well.
Yep, you can follow me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. Check out the power rankings on the Smark website, because that's my week-to-week contribution. But be sure to check out every other thing that's put out on the website as well.
All right, everybody. And if you just stay tuned for the next thing, then we'll see you there. But thank you for listening to this edition. That's going to do us in. And we will see you next time. Thank you to all the people in the chat as well. Good night, guys. Hopefully you have a great day tomorrow and everything else like that. And, thumbs up all around for everybody and this card as well. So, adios, everybody. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out.